let's stay with really important changes in law. Parliament now been given 2 years to change the laws on same-sex parental rights. The Constitutional Court today finding that a section of the Children's Act is unconstitutional and invalid because it discriminates against couples of the same sex in that regard. The Act gave only one person in a lesbian marriage the status of being the mother of a child that also applied to gay marriages. Legal analyst Nthabiseng Dubazana joins me now to explain. Good evening, Nthabiseng, and welcome. It's a massive victory for lesbian couples. Before this, the law only allowed for married couples to be joint parents. Explain what it means for them now in terms of parental recognition and rights.
So based on what the judgment says today, the same rights that heterosexual couples now have is now afforded to same-sex couples. So in other words, the full rights and responsibilities are now conferred on them. So what this essentially means is that the children will not suffer as a result of the law not catering to them. So what the court said is that the Limitations Act, which is Section 36, does not cater for the limitation that is now envisaged in terms of Section 9 of the Constitution, wherein the rights of the children were being prohibited in that they cannot enjoy the benefits of having both their parents who are there physically every day in the house with them, taking care of them, maintaining them, taking them to school, etc. And therefore not upon death, for example, they cannot inherit from the deceased estate of the one parent who is now left, or upon divorce, if they are married in terms of a civil union, then they don't have a right to claim maintenance against the other parent who had been paying maintenance throughout their entire lives. So basically, it covers more so the rights of the children than those of the parents themselves.
So multiple benefits here, including this one, Nthabiseng, that for unmarried heterosexual couples, this would also have a benefit. Have I understood that correctly?
100%. So in the past, it would have been a situation that couples that are married in terms of a heterosexual relationship have full rights and responsibilities over the minors that are born from that marriage, right? Now, and before now, it would mean that if I were to conceive a child out of wedlock, we would have the father would have to rather make an application for a right to access the child, a right to maintain the child, etc. in the children's court by virtue of what we call a Form 2, and then those rights will be conferred upon them. Yes, constitutionally, the parent does have full rights and responsibilities over the child, but it hadn't changed in terms of the legislature. So what the court did today was to say that the legislature must now add the words same-sex partners or people in a permanent life partner relationship. And then those ones will even confer on those who were born outside the confines of marriage, the rights of parents over the minors. It is a huge win in that respect, because we've had situations in estate matters where children couldn't inherit because there's this bar that you cannot now come and inherit because you were not born within the bounds of marriage. Earlier this year, there was a ruling in the Constitutional Court that gave, for example, couples that were married in terms of the Muslim law, that they can be recognized as spouses. Before they couldn't be, and therefore it gave them the right to inherit from their deceased estate. And as for the African people within the country, only in 2004 were women recognized in terms of the Bear case, where they could be allowed to inherit from their deceased partner's estate, because before the law of primogeniture would be applicable. So it has been a very interesting journey when it comes to parental rights and responsibilities and how a family is recognized within our country.
A significant day. I'll get to the process just now in terms of Parliament, but I also want to cover adoption and other types of parenting. What impact does it have there? What meaning does it have there?
It basically gives even those parents an even higher footing. Already adoption was already recognized, wherein you had full parental rights in any event. So that was not much of an issue. The main issue would have been in a situation, for example, of surrogacy, wherein I think it's currently in terms of Section 4T subsection 2, wherein it states that only the parent who gave their gametes or the sperm or the egg for the purposes of creating this human being would have said parental rights.
Oh, and Nthabiseng is in the dark. Oh, this happens when we're live. And Nthabiseng, are you still there? Are you able to hear me as we conclude?
I can at least hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
All right. I kind of lost you there at the tail end of that, but I think we got the gist of what you're saying. So it's going to take Parliament up to 2 years, we understand, to actually, make this, a written law. Why would it take so long? What are some of the, the admin processes and steps now that must be followed? And what happens to these communities in the meantime?
So the main thing that the court actually, besides the 24 months that are attached to this ruling, was that it has to apply retrospectively from the 1st of July 2007. The main reason for this, from what I can gather, is because that is the year wherein same-sex partners could get married. So a lot of the families in that respect would have grown from that. Their children that are born of those marriages, children that have been adopted into such families, and therefore the court now is trying to ensure that those children are then catered for as a result. But what would happen is that those parents would have to approach the court if they want this recognition to apply to their family, and then the children's court will then be informed. And then if the merits are sufficient, then these rights that are conferred upon today would be applicable to them. So now the legislature has to consider the ramifications of applying this matter retrospectively, and also the kind of constitutional realities that are going to affect all other legislatures that is basically intertwined with the Children's Act. We're looking at the interstate law of succession, we're looking at the Wills Act, we're looking at civil unions, we're looking at customary marriages. It's going to be very interesting to see how they're going to merge all this legislature to make sure that all children born of these various types of families or marital situations are indeed covered.
Really great explainer you provided us with, Nthabiseng. Appreciate you and your time. Thank you very much for being with us. Legal analyst Nthabiseng Dubazana, just talking about the changes now that will be made to the Children's Act in terms of parental rights for same-sex partnerships.